Good afternoon, and thank you for being here. I know that everyone must be a bit tired because of these 2 days of intense learning and this visiting this amazing event. But I assure you that I have something interesting in my pockets, and that it's going to be worth your time. So let's dive into something which is very important for the security of your education ecosystem, which is two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication. I'll just give a 2-minute brief of what it is, and then we'll dive into the demo of the app. So, yeah. So what is MFA? MFA is basically an extra layer of security which protects your system from data breaches or cyber attacks. MFA is something you know, something you have, and something you are. Something you know can be your security questions, passwords. Something you have is your phone, which receives the OTP or the email. And something you are is basically your biometrics. So why is why is our MFA plugin the standard plugin on the marketplace? It's because we provide multiple authentication methods. We have around 8+ authentication methods, like OTP over SMS, email, you name it, and we have that authentication method. Yeah, so why is MFA non-negotiable? So the number you're seeing on the screen right now, these are the number of cyber attacks that took place last year. It's quite a big amount, right? So even recently, there have been a lot of compliances that have been coming up, like the DORA compliance in the European region, and which is kind of enforcing organizations to have 2FA. And similarly, there is many governments in many countries who are trying to enforce 2FA in their organizations. So 2FA is not just an option anymore, it's a need. Let's quickly dive into the demo of our app. It's going to show you the admin panel and all the details which are necessary. Yeah. So as you can see, this is what the admin panel looks like. All the authentication methods are visible to the admin panel. We have created very user-friendly. We have, in this demo, we have enabled mobile authenticator as the primary method, and we are going to enable security question as the backup method. So primary method is the main method which the admin would want the end users to perform while doing the 2FA. But just in case if the primary method is not accessible, like the end user might not have his phone in his hand, so he can use the backup method, which is the security question, to log into the device. So again, we give full control to the admin. He can enable a 2FA for all users, certain groups, just for Jira software, for Jira service management, or for Jira admins as well. So this is the end user flow. The admin has enabled 2FA for the end user. The end user is trying to log in. He enters the username and password. And when the end user is trying to configure, when the end user performing 2FA for the first time, you will have to configure the 2 methods, which is the primary authentication method and the backup authentication method. So right now it's configuring both primary and backup methods, which is the mobile authenticator and security questions. Once these methods have been configured, the end user has to submit and save these configurations, and he will be prompted with 2FA from the next time he logs in. So let's try that out. The end user enters the username and password. After the configuration is done, he logs in and he's prompted with 2FA, which is the primary method, which is the mobile authenticator. So this is the basic user flow of our 2FA app. Let's dive into some advanced features of our 2FA plugin. So we have skip 2FA on SSO. So now many organizations have users who either log in via SSO or they log in via username and password. Now admins, since SSO is already an authentication layer, admins prefer that or kind of don't want the SSO users to perform MFA or be prompted with MFA. So this is where this feature of ours comes handy. It only prompts 2FA to users who are entering or logging in via username and password, but it will be skipped for users who are logging in via SSO. So this is a convenience as well as a security feature. Let's test. Let's see how it works in action. The end user is trying to log in. It's the same user. But this time, instead of using the username and password, he's logging in via the MiniOrange SSO plugin. So since he's performing SSO, the 2FA is skipped and he's directly logged in because the advanced feature of skip 2FA and SSO was enabled. Okay, moving on to the next feature, which is again a convenience feature, you can say. It's remember my device. Just like the name suggests, it's pretty obvious. This feature allows users to skip two-factor authentication on trusted devices for a specific period of time set by the administrator. So the admin can set expiry time as 2 days, 3 days, and for 3 days after the initial login, the end user won't be prompted with 2FA, but after 3 days, he'll have to authenticate again. So that's one of the convenience features we provide. So yeah, that's that. Okay, now these were some of the convenience features. Let's dive into some of the security features we provide. So brute force attack. So this is one of the most common attacks we see in organizations. Brute force is basically where hackers try to use a combination of passwords and OTPs to log in or hack into the Atlassian account. So how do we prevent that? So we provide an option known as brute force protection, where the admin can enable it and set the number of invalid attempts. In this case, we have set the number of invalid attempts as 2, and the admin saves the configuration. Now let's see what happens when a hacker tries to log in via the end user account gets hacked. So obviously obtaining username and password of an end user is not that difficult for hackers these days because of various malicious tricks like phishing, etc. So the hacker has access to the username and password, he logs in, but he's then prompted with our 2FA. He tries to guess the OTP using the brute force tag and he fails. He's prompted with 2FA again. He enters the OTP, guesses the OTP, fails, and the user is logged out. This happens because our brute force attack system enables or allows the end user to perform 2FA only twice as it was set by the admin. No matter the number of times the end user tries to log in, the hacker tries to log in, he won't have access to it unless and until the end user reaches out to the admin and says, hey, this happened to my account, can you please unlock it? The admin can then take an overview, analyze the situation, and then unlock the user, and he'll be able to perform 2FA again and log into his account. Now, another security feature we provide is IP restriction. So, it's another useful feature. It's useful. I'll give you an example. So, in IP restriction, admins can whitelist an IP. Let's say IPs which they trust, like the office IP addresses. So, when a colleague is or when an employee is entering the office premises and trying to log into Jira and Confluence, he won't be prompted with 2FA when the IP is whitelisted, because the office IP address is whitelisted. But when the colleague or the employee leaves the office premises and enters into some other zone, let's say cafe or into his own house, and he's trying to log into Jira and Confluence, he'll be prompted with 2FA. So this is an important feature. So in this case, we can see that the admin is whitelisting the office IP address. He adds the IP address and verifies it that, okay, this IP address is okay and 2FA should not be prompted on this particular IP, but it should be prompted in all other IP addresses. So when the same user, the user which I logged in before, tries to log in via the IP address, he won't be prompted with 2FA because of this feature. So that's the advanced features which we provide. Okay, now there's a surprise for you. The guys have been cooking up this feature for a while, and I'm happy to reveal that we are going to launch this feature in the upcoming week. It's known as one-time 2FA validation. So many organizations use Jira, Confluence, Bitbucket, and Bamboo. These are a lot of Atlassian platforms together. When the end user tries to log in, he'll have to perform 2FA on data on Jira, 2FA on Confluence, 2FA on Bitbucket, 2FA on Bamboo. It's quite a hassle, and we've gotten a few tickets from customers saying that it's a bit of a hassle to having to perform 2FA on each and every application every time they log in. So what this feature does, this is going to be released next week. What this feature does, it establishes the connection between your Jira, Confluence, and Bitbucket, and the end user has to perform 2FA only once while initially logging in. So let's say the user logs in into Jira once, he's prompted with 2FA once, And then after that, if the session is active, he won't be prompted with 2FA in Confluence, Bitbucket, and Bamboo. Again, the convenience feature. So this is more like a convenience as well as a security feature which we provide. Bitbucket and Bamboo together. So in this, the admin copies the secret key from Jira, and then when he logs into Confluence, he has a similar plugin of which is our 2FA plugin in Confluence. He goes into the two-factor authentication plugin in Confluence, and then enables the similar feature. He pastes the key from Jira into Confluence. This establishes the connection between Jira and Confluence, and then he saves this method. So now let's see what happens when an end user tries to log in from Jira. So this is the first attempt of login. So when the end user is logging in, he enters the username and password, and then he's prompted with 2FA for the first time when he's validating into Jira. Now, since the session is active, when he logs in into Confluence, 2FA is not prompted because of the one-time 2FA validation feature. So that is one of the advanced features which we have. Moving on, many organizations require to have an overview of their config of their logs, which is the authentication logs, and what activities are being performed. So we provide an audit logs feature in it. So the audit logs is split into authentication logs and configuration logs. So in the configuration logs, the admins can check which particular admin has performed which particular action, which 2FA method has been enabled for which particular group. So it keeps a track of all the activities performed by the admin. And in terms of authentication logs, the admin can check which user has successfully performed 2FA, which user has configured 2FA, which user was logged out, and we provide multiple filters to check each and every action out accordingly. So yeah, that's about what our 2FA plugin on Data Center does. So another surprise for you guys is that we have recently come up with a solution. We're going to launch it on the marketplace soon. So we have come up with MFA for Cloud, and we are the only unique solution on the marketplace for MFA for Cloud. So yeah, this is what, since it's a similar plugin, we have the same features of Data Center plugin in Cloud as well. So I'm not going to show you the entire demo of the entire plugin. This is just the basic end user login into Cloud JSM portal. So yeah, in this case, the end user enters the username and the username and password. Yes, and then they're prompted with 2FA in Cloud. So yeah, once the OTP is entered, the end user is successfully logged into the Jira Service Management portal in Cloud. Now, another advanced, or you can say another, breakthrough feature which we have provided in Cloud is that we can enable 2FA for specific portals and not just while logging in. So let's say an admin wants to enable 2FA for one specific portal, but not while the login process. So in this case, again, this is just the end user flow of what it looks like. So the end user enters the username and password. So in this case, the 2FA was not prompted because the option selected by the admin was 2FA for a specific project, not while logging in. So when the end user tries to log into a particular project or particular portal, that's when 2FA will be prompted for him. So in this case, the end user is trying to log into the demo service project. So when he logs into this particular project, 2FA is prompted for that particular project and not while the login process is taking place. So this is another breakthrough feature which we have come up with. And yeah, that's the end user is logged in. So that was our 2FA plugin in Data Center and Cloud as well. So I like to end this demo with a quote or a line, I would say. MFA is not just a checkbox. It's a difference between we are compliant and we are on the evening news. So yeah, that's our motto, secure it right. And yeah, that's me. If you want to connect, you can reach out to us on email. And our booth is straight here from Synergia. So you can just walk into our booth if you have any questions, or if you want to know more about our product in detail, you can definitely come to our booth and ask your questions. Thank you.